The restaurant exuded luxury, its dim lighting casting a warm glow over the elegantly decorated space. Grand chandeliers hung overhead, their crystals refracting the soft golden light, while the soothing notes of jazz music floated through the air. The room was alive with conversation, laughter, and the clinking of glasses, as well-dressed guests reveled in the evening's indulgence. This night was meant to be a joyous celebration. The grand gathering at the Crescent Moon, one of the city's most exclusive dining establishments, was in honor of my wife Alice's well-earned promotion. The sheer extravagance of the venue seemed to reflect the significance of the moment. Every detail had been carefully curated. The polished silverware gleamed under the flickering candlelight. The atmosphere was one of sophistication and elegance. Alice was stunning that night. She wore an emerald green gown that shimmered under the soft glow of the chandeliers, the color of perfect contrast to her auburn locks. She carried herself with an effortless grace, gliding through the crowd, exchanging smiles and laughter. The sparkle in her eyes was a mixture of triumph and delight, and I couldn't have been prouder to stand beside her, celebrating her success. As the evening progressed, I found myself drifting between conversations, engaging with our friends and colleagues. The mood was lively, the air buzzing with warmth and cheer. At one point, I stepped away to the balcony, seeking a breath of fresh air. From there, the city stretched before me, its glittering lights painting a mesmerizing scene, a striking contrast to the energy inside. Lost in thought, I was suddenly tugged by a sense of curiosity. Alice had mentioned earlier that she wanted to show me something special. Smiling at the thought, I decided to surprise her instead, eager to share in whatever moment she had planned. However, as I stepped back inside, something in the atmosphere had changed. The energy of the room had shifted. The conversation seemed louder, the excitement tinged with something unfamiliar. A faint unease settled in my chest as I scanned the room in search of Alice. And then I saw her. She was standing in a quiet, dimly lit corner of the restaurant, her figure close to another. Richard, he was her boss, a tall man with an air of command, his sharp eyes always carrying an intensity that made him impossible to ignore. I had always known he was ambitious, but I had never imagined his ambitions extended beyond the workplace. As I moved closer, my steps slow with hesitation, the scene before me became clearer. Their proximity was intimate, their conversation laced with an undeniable tension. Richard's hand rested lightly on Alice's lower back, a touch far too familiar for comfort. She responded in kind, her fingers grazing his chest in a way that sent a jolt of confusion through me. At first, I questioned if I was misreading the situation. Could this be a harmless exchange, a gesture of misplaced familiarity? But as I closed the distance between us, the truth struck me with devastating clarity. Their words were hushed, yet charged with something unmistakable. Richard leaned in, his lips brushing against Alice's ear, and she responded, not with discomfort, but with a slow, knowing smile. It was not the kind of smile meant for colleagues. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out the lively chatter around me. The walls of the room seemed to close, and as cold realization washed over me. Alice and Richard were not just co-workers. They were something more, something hidden, something betraying. The weight of the discovery hit like a punch to the gut. My mind spiraled with countless thoughts, each more painful than the last. A surge of anger coursed through me, raw and consuming, demanding confrontation. Time slowed. Every motion, every gesture between them became agonizingly clear. Richard's fingers traced down Alice's arm, his touch lingering, sending a message I could no longer deny. And in that moment, overwhelmed by the storm of emotions crashing within me, I stood on the precipice of an irreversible truth, one that would shatter the illusion of our perfect evening forever. I made a decision. I couldn't stand by any longer. I had to act. I had to confront them and demand the truth. My heart pounded in my chest as I stepped forward, each stride feeling heavier than the last. The sounds of the party, the laughter, the clinking of glasses, the soft strains of jazz, faded into the background, drowned out by the thunderous rhythm of my pulse. As I closed the distance, Alice's eyes widened in shock. The color drained from her face, replaced by a mix of guilt and unease. Richard's expression shifted as well, the amusement in his eyes giving way to something more guarded, as if he had already anticipated this moment. "Alice," I said, my voice calm despite the turmoil raging within me. "Can we talk?" A flush of shame crossed her face. She hesitated, her lips parting as if searching for the right words, but none came. Richard, standing beside her, glanced between us, his confidence wavering for the first time. His expression turned calculating, as though assessing how best to navigate the confrontation. "Is everything all right?" Alice asked, her voice trembling slightly. I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. "I think you owe me an explanation," I said, forcing my tone to remain even. "What's going on here?" Richard took a step forward, a smug smile curling at the corners of his lips. "I think it's time we were honest about a few things," he began, his voice laced with arrogance. Before he could say another word, a surge of adrenaline coursed through me. The weight of betrayal, the searing sting of anger, and the raw ache of injustice crashed over me all at once. I acted on instinct. In a blur of motion, I grabbed Richard by the collar, yanking him away from Alice. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as nearby guests turned to witness the commotion. Murmurs spread like wildfire, the once elegant atmosphere of the restaurant shifting into something charged, unpredictable. "Stop it!" Alice's voice cut through the haze, desperate, pleading, but the fury burning inside me had already taken hold. Richard, caught off guard, stumbled back before regaining his footing. He shoved against me, his confidence replaced by a defensive aggression. The tension escalated in an instant. The weight of every unspoken truth, every hidden betrayal, colliding into a storm neither of us could contain. The restaurant buzzed with whispers and hushed exclamations. Eyes darted in our direction, some shocked, others eager to witness the spectacle unfolding before them. The once muted jazz music now felt distant, like a ghostly echo of the night that should have been. I felt like I was trapped in a surreal dream, each second stretching unbearably long. The sounds around me blended into a chaotic symphony, gasps, shifting chairs, hurried footsteps of staff unsure how to intervene. And then, in the midst of the chaos, I made a split-second decision. No more silence. No more pretending. I turned to Richard, my rage barely contained. "Say it," I demanded, my voice sharp with the weight of betrayal. "Be honest for once." Richard straightened, his defiant gaze locking onto mine. He wasn't backing down, and neither was I.